Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we are going to be talking about the. Oh, whoa, whoa.
You forgot
Today
something.
is. What is it? It's
It's
Warlock
Warlock
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh my God. So, today we'll be talking about an Eldritch Invocation. This one, Far Scribe.
I really appreciate the level of enthusiasm for Warlock Wednesdays. I feel it's only gone up. It is only going to keep going up, baby. We love Warlock Wednesday here. Yeah, Far Scribe is pretty sweet. Tosh called it and everything, gave it to us. It's a really cool way that this is, I think, the tier that invocations kind of need to be on to justify them on your sheet whenever you're not empowering a feature. So this is 5th level Pact of the Tome requirement. A new page appears in your Book of Shadows. With your permission, a creature can use its action to write its name on that page, which can contain a number of names equal to your proficiency bonus. So you get, whenever you get this at 5th level, you'll have your proficiency bonus, I believe, is +2 at 5th level. Might be 3, one of the two. As you go, as your proficiency bonus goes up, you can add more names as that happens. You can cast the Sending spell, targeting a creature whose name is on the page without using a spell slot and without using material components. That's pretty sweet. To do so, you must write the message on the page. The target hears the message in their mind, and if the target replies, it appears on the page rather than in your mind. The writing disappears after a minute. As an action, you can magically erase a name on the page by touching it, which means if you got a proficiency bonus of 2, you have 2 names in there, you go, okay, well, we haven't talked to Cheryl in like 3 months. I'm sure everything back in that city is fine. We're not going to go there for a very long time. I'm going to erase Cheryl's name. You can have your name in here instead. I can scribe with you instead. Pretty nifty. Or send with you instead. Pretty nifty.
I think it's funny that they specify that to write their name in your book it costs an action. Like,
Yeah, right?
are you doing this in combat?
Yeah,
Can you sign
right.
my yearbook?
Yeah, I'd love conceptually, like, you're in a fight to the death and you're like, wait, before you get vacuumed off another plane of existence, spend your action. Just throw the book at them. I don't know, seems dumb. I like it. It's definitely didn't need to be there, but it is there, so here we are.
Yeah, and I mean they have another one. Where is it? You can cast the Sending spell, material. I know there was another one where you use an action, right?
In this invocation, I didn't
Yeah,
read
yeah.
it.
As an action, you can magically erase the name by
Oh,
touching
sure.
it. Yeah.
So if you're in a combat situation and you need to get this person's like sending information, their phone number functionally, and they're about to teleport away, and you're about to teleport away, you have to spend an action, they have to spend an action, you're good to go.
Yeah. If your book is full.
I need
Oh
to
man.
know, commenters down below, if this has ever been used in combat. Seek out into the interwebs and find the story, because I don't believe it ever has. Mainly because I think this feature's probably been picked up like only a couple hundred times at most, I think, in the grand scheme of D&D. I don't think there are a lot of people playing with this specific feature just because it's a Warlock specific feature nested in an expanded book that a lot of people are playing with, right? And it's not even like overtly extremely powerful. It's just kind of cool. It makes Far Scribe fairly niche. For those at home, sending lets you basically just send short messages, 25 words or fewer between the creature and you. It takes an action. Being able to do that at will is pretty spicy, and that's what Far Scribe kind of lets you do. You can just spam messages back and forth with whoever you'd like to with the Sending spell, which is pretty sweet. I would put this on a lot of character sheets. I don't know if it's going to be particularly effective outside of like specifically infiltration groups where you're tasked with breaking and entering, you're tasked with maintaining a bunch of different positions at once and synchronizing plans. That's where I think this really like is at its best. Alternatively, give like intrigue games and stuff where it might be able to come to some play. But like, where do you ever see yourself taking something like this, Bob? Or what characters do you think would take it?
Probably not off the top of my head. I can't think of much. I've never done much with the Sending spell at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, I'm always a big fan of getting something, a spell to use willy-nilly. But I'm trying to think of when I would use it, much less have a need for it, more than, at will, Um, so you were saying infiltration. I guess if you, the warlock, snuck into a place and you're hiding out like Anne Frank in the attic and like, I don't know, peeking out the windows and giving people directions. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
I'm thinking more of like synchronized explosions, right? Where everyone gets in their position, they're ready to do their attack, and you are able to be like sending, go. Right? And everyone can then across a large distance synchronize attack a position, whether that be everyone breaks in at the same time, so 3 alarms go off and people scatter, or maybe it's you sync up the person down the road with the distraction. They say, okay, explosion now, and then you know it's exactly the right time to go in, right? It really much will feel like you have a radio, like a walkie-talkie between 2 different positions, or 3 or 4 as you level up. That can give you this instantaneous feedback of now is the signal, they're going, we can go, you know what's going on. You can immediately know if something goes wrong, which is pretty nice. So you can be like, oh no, we need to bail. I'm keeping the sending like going over and over again as you're just going down the hallways. And as soon as something happens where it's like, you still good? And they go, nope, the jig is up, I've been captured. You're like, great, we need to hurry or bail or find a way to get them out. And you can kind of get a little bit more coordination and keep a lot of team cohesion going with a little bit more consistency, I think, in those schemes and kinds of plans. They're not that common.
Now, for the synchronized explosions,
Mhm.
I feel like you could do the same thing with the dancing lights. As soon as the light go up, boom.
It's also like that's not invisible, and it's not going to fit every circumstance, where this
Yeah.
will fit every circumstance, right? If you're underground, you can't send up dancing lights, right? If you're dealing with people on other planes of existence, for example, so maybe they're on the one side of a 2-way planar gate, and you're on the other, and you're trying to like finagle some kind of magical item transfer between these 2 places. This works there hypothetically. Again, that's hyper niche though. So most situations, I think, if you're talking about the mundane exploration uses of this, dancing lights can do a similar thing. Again, they're limited to 15 feet, and it's not inconspicuous. It does show up. There's what are those blue fairy lights doing out in the distance? That's something that the guards and stuff might notice, but
yeah, but then
it still
everything
could be good enough.
explodes. So who cares? We know somebody was up to something.
That's true.
But another that's just for the synchronized explosion kind of thing.
Mhm.
But for the rest of what you said, all right, sounds good. Communication, but like we've got telepathic bond.
Telepathic bond is a 5th level spell that you're spending resources on, and as a warlock, you don't have access to that really. As a warlock, you don't have the luxury of doing that. This also, I think, plays really well at tables that have NPCs that are working in synchronized missions away from the party. So the party's tasked with doing one thing. They have an NPC that's tasked with doing another, or an NPC organization. Maybe you're an allied with like the Harpers or something, and they're trying to bring down a tyrant, and being able to stay in touch with how their mission is going and how your mission is going can give you some edges and opportunities for roleplay and exploration down the road to be like, oh, things went to shit with the Harpers. We can now go and break them out of jail, and the DM gives me easy exposition here, and they won't ever see us coming. That's an opportunity for it. Now, that's not going to be great at the vast majority of tables. I don't think the vast majority of tables care too much to keep in touch with like these 3 specific NPCs across different areas and have these synchronized events happening that you care about in the moment at either one. Like you could just go back and find out, oh crap, things went belly up, and we need to like react to it now. It's going to be often just like as good as it needs to be. But it does feel pretty cool to have the 2-way radio up all the time as the warlock, to be writing and talking to people in your book and have that communication, have that sort of role as the comms officer, if you will, on Enterprise, right? You're sort of tasked with this responsibility now. That can be a really meaningful way the DM can just now have a tool in their toolbox to use your character as a way to drop off exposition, use your character as a way to move plots forward, keep the game moving, steer you into new adventures. That's not nothing. I think that's a pretty useful tool.
All right. Yes, it can be, but I'm still stuck on telepathic bond. Yes, warlocks don't get access to it typically, but there's the ritual caster feat. This is a ritual spell.
That's true. And also you have Pact of the Tome, and Pact of the Tome has the invocation that gives you ritual casting.
Yes. All right, there you go.
So telepathic bond has a shorter duration and doesn't work with anyone forever, right? So the reason that there's a small difference here, right, is to my understanding, it doesn't work. Yeah, telepathic bond only lasts an hour. So if you are doing long distance communications, it kind of has to be with scry or with sending. It can't really be with telepathic bond. Sending at will is what this is kind of offering you, right? Telepathic bond definitely, as far as infiltration missions goes, is going to be way better. It puts you in touch with everyone in the party for the hour. It's a ritual casting spell, so it's more of a feature that your wizards are getting. That definitely will replace the need for this at tables that have access to it. And if you want telepathic bond, you also might consider this alongside it for a slightly different task. If you're going for the character that you are the mastermind, you are the planner, you are the one that has the communication hub up, you know where everyone's supposed to be, you've got this convoluted, dumb plan involving illusions, involving giant explosions, involving the rogue masquerading as another figure as they go into a ball, and the barbarian crashing it and pretending to start a fight with them, right? All of that kind of comes down to using these tools to make sure everyone's on the same page, to make sure everyone's sort of working as a unit. You can take both these on the same character conceivably. I don't know if you necessarily need to. Telepathic Bond does do a lot of what this does better, but beyond it being a ritual spell that you might not even get access to, depending on what your DM like offers you ritual spell wise, it is also a wizard exclusive, so a lot of tables aren't going to necessarily have Telepathic Bond. So this can be a good enough version of it does what Telepathic Bond does in the adventuring sense, in the dungeon exploration sense, and then also gives you a little bit of out of combat world. I'm going to call it world management or world. I don't know, world like communication skills that have some amount of value.
What are other spells like message? Which one? What does that do?
Message is you point at someone 120 feet away from you, and you whisper words, and they hear those words in their ear.
Okay, that's not that's a cantrip. Not exactly a replacement for this if if you're more than 120 feet apart. But can they send messages back?
I don't remember. I'd have to check message. Let's Google. Google is free, as we all know. We pay for it in ads. We love ads in this household.
I thought you said an ass.
Oh no, that's a very different kind of relationship. The target hears the message and can reply in a whisper that only you can hear.
Yeah, that's certainly not going to be applicable in all situations that Far Scribe would be, but I don't know. I feel like between that, telepathic bond, what else did I say? Dancing lights. I feel like you could get a lot of what you need without having this, without spending an invocation on it.
To its credit, this does do all of those things for one invocation, as opposed to having dancing lights for your signaling, telepathic bond for your infiltration, for your message, for your telepathic communication, right? All of that is something you can condense down into this. This does have a small amount of applications beyond that. I will definitely say this is not going to be great at most tables. I don't think this is going to be something that you're taking unless the fantasy of it is what you want first. And the fantasy of it, I do think, is really rich and well done here, where the messages appear physically in the Book of Shadows, actually, where most of the time tome blocks to me just feel like they just have more spells, and the ritual caster kind of gives them, the Book of Ancient Secrets kind of gives them like the feeling of using the book, but this, more so than the rest, is like, oh, this is Riddle's Diary from Harry Potter, right? This is a magical book that does twisted, magical, dark things, and in this case, it's using it to telepathically communicate with people, and their words appear in the book. Very flavorfully rich, really cool idea for a lot of people that want that fantasy, and it does a meaningful enough tool that I'm pretty happy to take it. Most people aren't, though. Most people are definitely going to be like you, where you've got a variety of tools that do this well enough. This definitely does its job fine, but there are a whole myriad of tools that will do any specific job this can do a little bit better, and that's going to make it not like the greatest invocation in the world, but it is one that I'm happy that exists, and one that I like this direction, as far as it does a spell, but it does it a little bit differently. It does it at will. It's definitely an improvement over like Misty Vision, who's just its silent image at will. This is sending at will to some creatures, but different. I think that's a way more fun space to explore. I think that's a way more interesting design area to sort of build out from a mechanics perspective, at least.
Wait, you, the big illusion fan, I think this is so much better than Misty Visions?
I think the design is better than Misty Visions.
Oh.
So I think the structuring of Misty Visions is really lazy. It's just silent image at will, right? There's no new mechanic there. It's just, we have this existing first level spell. What if Warlocks just got that as a cantrip? This is, we have a third level spell, but it's going to function differently mechanically than just the naked third level spell, right? This isn't just sending to two people at will. This is sending to two people at will that happens in a book that requires you be interfacing with it just in a different enough way that it doesn't really feel like sending to me anymore. It feels like its own unique mechanic, and I think that has some merit to it. This doesn't make the spell mechanically stronger or anything. No. I think it makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, this isn't one I can get as excited about as you. I don't hate it, but
I love these kinds of stupid little tools that are like, how do I make this actually as good as possible? And it's like, realistically, don't make it that good, but it's really fun to play with my personal preferences.
Is it Misty Visions? I think I'm the opposite. I think, this first level spell at will, that's enough for me. That's what I want out of an
I mean,
invocation.
listen, don't get me wrong. I adore Misty Visions too. That's almost always the first invocation I'm taking on almost all of my warlocks, just because it's really powerful. I love that I can let that be my cosmetic cantrip too, but it's also just really good, and that's why I'm a pretty big. I'm a evangel of Misty Visions, if you will. I think this is a cooler direction, though. I would love to see Misty Visions get like a little. There was a neat homebrew thing I saw on the internet a while back that was invocation. They were like invocation side effects. So they were non-hostile, non-harmful of things that happened to your characters when you took certain invocations. And Misty Visions was really cool, where it's while you're sleeping, your dreams project out around your head as just little illusory clouds and things like that. And that is the deep little flavor that I think all of these could use. I think the Warlock class, first and foremost, is Huron flavor. Mechanically, it isn't ever going to be and never has been one of the strongest classes in the game, right? It's got a whole host of problems based off the short rests, whole host of problems based off of the other things, yet it's routinely a class that I see people play and adore. And that's largely because it builds your character backstory for you. It's you made a pact with the devil. You made a pact with an ungodly, unknowable, unspeakable horror monster. And we're agnostic as to how good that general subclass is, right? Pact of the Fiend is not particularly powerful. People still love it because who doesn't want to play that character, you know, the devil went down to Georgia with the banjo kind of deal, making a deal with the devil. It's thematics first, and a lot of people love that. I think that they could just really run with it. I think this really runs with it. This particular invocation really just does take the full flavor of it and richly shove it into it for its benefit. More Warlock could use that. I think more classes in this game could use that, frankly. But I don't know. It definitely elevates it in my book. Mechanically, still not that good. It's fine, but
yeah. In the interest of keeping our comments relevant, it was a fiddle.
No, I'm sorry.
All right.
Thank you for that catch.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got a rating for this one?
This is probably still a 2. This probably still isn't. Sending is not a great spell, and like you said, message exists. It's the first level spell. In a lot of situations, that's about as good as sending. Sending is across long distance is not that relevant in most games, and for that reason, this can't ever be that good. That being said, it's at will. That being said, it does a lot of flavorful, powerful things, and there are ways that you can use this to your advantage. You just kind of have to bend over backwards to make it happen. So it's not something that I'd ever be like, this is something every player should put on their character sheet. This is something where you have to love it first, and I'm the kind of person that loves this. Then you can probably get a lot of utility out of it if you really work hard and diligently to make it happen.
One more correction. Message is a cantrip.
Did I not say that?
You said first level.
Whoops. Yeah. Yes, message is a cantrip.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Good
that's
catch, Bob.
hugely important because it's the whole
free.
at will thing. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with your 2, just because I don't know. I was leaning toward 3 because you convinced me, but then I don't want to give it higher than you did because I don't like it as much as you do. But yeah, I can't see myself ever using this really.
Yeah, I think that's where most people fall.
All right. Well, maybe the viewers do not. Let us know what you think down in the comments. And that was Far Scribe.
Yeah. If you don't want to talk about Far Scribe, you could instead tell us what their level spells do you think could be at will and be an invocation and not be busted. I'm always interested to see like what really bad spells exist that we could just give to Warlocks for free and make them a whole lot better, like False Life. Let me know if you have any ideas in the comments below.
Or let us know how other ways you use sending.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.